Good morning. I'm so excited you're here. You can tell it's Christmas time, and we have a fantastic show for you today. We have LloydWong on with us, and she's going to talk about the three pillars to your success financially. And we also have a fabulous birthday. This woman is going to be, well, she just turned 100, and she lives in Maui. We're going to hear about her secret to longevity. And Steve McCullough is on with us. He has a caregiver question. So let's go ahead and get started. Let's go ahead and we'll add Steve on with us. And see if he's here. Oops, I think I have my solo camera on.
Good
How are you
morning.
this morning? Morning.
I'm
How are
great.
you?
Your place looks so festive.
Yeah, I know. It's kind of fun to decorate.
Yeah,
So tell me, did we get a question this week?
we did. So the question is, um, two siblings, and they're wondering how they know when it's time to take their parent out of the house and into another facility, like assisted housing or something like that. Like, how do they know when to make that decision? Like, what are the signs? Or
Well, I always put a model together. In fact, just since you brought it up that way, I keep this model to the side always because it's a really important part of planning. So it's not just a simple answer. It's what are the wishes of the individual, and that might kind of combine with a family, but more than likely mom or whoever wants to stay home. But then we have to look at what's going to keep them safe. So can they stay home safely? And I think the other thing that's kind of cool, and this is an accident actually, and Lloyd can answer some of this, is what can they afford? Can they afford to stay home? Does she need some extra care? So we would actually come in and do an evaluation to see, is she independent? Can she stay on her own? How much help would she need if she needs any help? And then what would that help cost? And we combine that with looking at her safety and what she wants, and we put a plan together. So it's possible that she needs to move based on maybe she can't afford to have enough support in the house, and maybe it may be a little less expensive to be in a community. But it's so individualized, and we have to tailor that response based on what the situation is for the individual. So we have what they want, what will keep them safe, and what kind of budget they have. So that is
excellent.
my answer.
Good answer.
All
Good
right.
decision.
Yeah, we have a great story about somebody turning 100. I think we downloaded all the photos, but I've got to show you. She is really special. So I'm going to go ahead and start adding her photos here. You're not going to believe that she's actually 100. Here we go. She is, look at how pretty she is. I'm going to go ahead
That's
and dump
great.
us so we can add her in. Um, So here we go. Good morning, Lloyd. Oh, unmute you too.
Yeah, you already unmuted. You unmuted me. Yes, thank you. Hi, good morning. Hi, Mary. Thank you so much for inviting me to be on your podcast.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
You just have a wealth of information that I think is really important to share. So tell me about these pillars.
Yeah. So there are 3 pillars to happiness in retirement. So these are what might it be that will make you successful in having a happy retirement. And
Okay.
I attended a conference recently, and this guy Michael Finca from the American College of Financial Services was on this panel, and with these other folks, and they said the 3 pillars are money, relationships, and health. And all 3 areas require upfront investments before retirement for retirement to be successful. So that means there's some sacrifice you need to make now to have a successful or happy retirement later. And for instance, in healthcare, you're going to need to exercise. That, who wants to go out and exercise and eat right and get enough sleep? But those are things that are sacrificial that you have to do now so that you can have a healthy retirement and are able to live long enough to enjoy it. So that's important. Now, most people, when they're thinking about retirement, they think about money, and and they think mainly, oh, prepare for retirement. They're worried about either not having enough money or running out. Or
Right. Yeah, it's scary.
Those are the first things that usually pop into people's minds. But Michael Finca says that money isn't the only thing that's essential to successful retirement. And after all, money can only make you happy up to a certain point. There's some number out there, and I learned this factoid. And Mary, I want to ask you, can you guess what number it is that over which there's not that much more psychic satisfaction you can get? Do you know what that number might be?
Well, I don't know if it's accounted for in inflation, because I know we have so much inflation now, but I know the number, at least a couple of years ago, was $75,000 a year. And then above that was just kind of gravy, but you could live off of, at least then, you could live off of $75,000 a year and have all of your basic needs met.
Okay. So you're going off of an annual number, and they were going off of some sky high number. So studies show that $4 million is the peak, the dollar amount above which
over your life.
Over your life, that doesn't necessarily provide any additional positive psychic satisfaction. This is an interesting factoid to me.
Wow, so that is
$4 million.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah. For sure, financial freedom allows you, flexibility, and money is mainly a tool, which, when combined with relationships and health, is the recipe for a happy retirement. So, and he said, spending money on stuff, it doesn't necessarily make you happy. That sort of happiness can wear off after a while. And so Finca's research found that it's social spending, the leisure time and the vacations that you spend with others, the spending of money and time with friends, that's what really makes people happy.
I agree.
But then the relationship pillar is the pillar that gets ignored before retirement. Like, you need to foster those relationships.
Right. In your marriage and your significant other relationships. We're talking with LloydWong from Clifford Swan. Do you have a disclaimer too that you need to share with us? So let's do that.
Yeah, at the outset, that the opinions I'm expressing today are solely my own and do not necessarily reflect those of Clifford Swan Investment Counselors.
Great. But we know you're with a great firm, so that's why we invited you on, and keep sharing with us. This is really fascinating. I love.
You want to learn more about Clifford Swan? I don't know if you want to. If you know what we do, or
tell us what you do. But I definitely want to. We'll circle back over to the relationships, because that's part of our research in longevity as well. We know that when you invest in those relationships, it's important. But I love hearing it from as an investor yourself, I love hearing your pillars in investment in relationships and so forth.
Right. And they were saying, like, if you already have a troubled relationship with a spouse or a significant other, those fissures are going to exhibit themselves during retirement, especially if like one of the two of you are not retired yet, and you're expecting like more social time from them, and you're not retired yet. You have to you're going to like say, well, what am I going to do with my time? My significant other isn't even like retired. So you need to invest in those relationships beforehand. And usually it's they say that it's men who are worse than this than women, that the only relationships they have are work relationships, and then when they retire, those relationships go away unless they took the time to foster outside relationships through, you know, other institutions like volunteering or church or whatever. You know, they can develop new ones, that's for sure. But if you need that relationship component, and you need to kind of make an investment, make a concerted effort to do
absolutely. That. Yeah.
And they were saying too that if you think that your kids are going to be a source of that, like social relationship that you want to deepen, certainly you're going to do that. But they cautioned against just uprooting your support community to go move to where your kids are, because they were saying it's surprisingly, kids have their own lives and they could up and move again, and you will have moved from a support community to go to them, and then either they might not have time for you, or they leave. So those are reasons why not to rely too heavily on your kids as that relationship component.
Yeah, I think it's important not to put too much pressure on the kids. I think it depends on where you are in your life, and who else. It depends on your age and what your group of friends are doing. Are they available? Have they passed? We also know in research that if you have 10 connections or more, we know that it's kind of like the squeaky wheel too. So when you are in, say, a senior community or living at home, you have those visits with family and friends, your voice is going to be heard more often. And just those social connections, I think having those hugs and those touches and the important parts of life, just really connecting with humanity is so important. So I love how you're talking about the investment of human relationships. Really, really, really important.
And I think during the pandemic, one thing that taught us with the technology that we have now, it's easier than ever to still connect with people, especially if they live far away. So things like FaceTime and Zoom are useful tools to use to maintain those relationships and deepen them, you know,
absolutely,
even if they're far away. So that was one like positive fallout from the pandemic, if you will, that we have these tools to use. Yeah.
An immediate rush to understanding those too. I mean, we never would have that if we didn't have this immediacy to connect.
Because it's the frequency of the contact that matters. And so having the frequency and just making the time to do that before you retire is important. So
it is.
But people don't think about it because they're thinking mainly about the healthcare or the money part, and mostly they think more about the money part. And I get it; the money part does allow you the freedom to,
And what are those relationships like for you too? I think that's the other thing that's really important. Are they positive influences? Are they negative? My mom used to say it's time to weed the friend garden. You know, you need people who are supportive and loving and caring and want positive things for you too. And you know, the energy you give is the energy you get, so to speak. And I think it's really important to look at who your influencers are, and how do you influence others? Are you a curmudgeon, or do you bring a spark of joy to other people to be around? Really important. And that supports your own health too.
Yeah, absolutely. Your mental health, right? Your psychic health. You really need that. And people, they ignore that aspect of it. They think more about physical health, but they don't think about that aspect of health. You're absolutely right. Yeah, that's part of the point. Yeah.
So you have the third. So we have the one is financial, one pillar is financial, the other is relationship, and then share the third one.
Healthcare. I mentioned healthcare, which is where your expertise lies, right? And a lot of that requires planning ahead too. It's not just the exercise and the eating right and all that, the diet, but it's have like for you, it's like having the healthcare plan, talking to um, your kids or whomever to know what your wishes are, like you had mentioned in that caregiver question earlier. That it fits right into planning ahead and knowing what your needs are going to be, what constitutes a trigger to move from one situation to another.
Mm-hmm.
And like with my mom passed earlier this year, and I mean I didn't realize, for instance, that I always knew that um, having mental faculties was one. Like it was like if she was still mentally there, I didn't want to pull the plug kind of thing. But we never had a discussion about, well, hey, what if she's having difficulties with swallowing, and with that having a G tube, and that I didn't realize that. I wish I'd had that conversation earlier.
Well, sometimes we don't know that those things are going to happen, and I like to, even when we have those kind of conversations, I like to talk about them sometimes like they're not in the present tense and that they're happening in the future still. It just feels like the burden kind of is relieved a little bit, and I do that with families. I started it with my dad, sitting down with his wife, and she was uncontrollable in her sorrow. And I just said, let's just put on the table that Dad is fine. Everything's good. He's all fine. Let's think about in 15 years, if this was to happen, what would you want? And I don't know what it was, but it just seemed to lift that burden of the immediacy of what was happening to something that we could look at in the future, and it wasn't happening now. And she was actually able to look at that with a little more practical kind of feeling versus being overwhelmed. And you don't make good decisions when you're overwhelmed.
That's true. That's why planning ahead is important if you can do that. I mean, I'll touch a little bit about the money pillar because there's and how it
absolutely
relates.
That's your specialty. That's
your
specialty over there.
I learned about that there are 3 phases in retirement. There's like the go, the slow go, and the no go phases.
That's great. I love that.
Yeah, and so the go phase, they say, is the very beginning of retirement when you're still physically and mentally capable of living a fairly active lifestyle. It's very similar to what you were like before retirement, maybe busier, right? Some people say they're busier when they first retire than they were when they were working, because maybe they're doing volunteer work, they're doing more travel and hobbies. And so life just is pretty busy, and you might be spending more because you're doing these activities. So spending might go up, and it might be either the same or more than it was right before retirement. Sure. The next phase is called the slow go phase of retirement, and physically your body is telling you to slow down, and it's typically like ages 70 to 84-ish. And they say you fall into predictable routines, and that routines provide you comfort and security as your energy levels start to wane, right? And so these predictable patterns will help you minimize effort and thought without compromising enjoyment of life. And typically your spending might slow down a little in this stage of retirement. Then the no-go phase is the retirement phase that starts at about 85 plus. And that's when, age and time really play a role in your retirement, because your body's starting to deteriorate. You need to slow down. You can't do as many activities as you used to do. Your abilities start to decline. So mentally and physically and maybe financially. So choices are just more limited. And planning ahead really plays a role, because then you've had the questions asked hopefully already, where do you want to age, in place, in a lifestyle community, in a assisted living, whatever. But that's when you might need additional support from families, government.
Yes, exactly. I think that's so interesting. Such a great way to explain that too. Very simple. It just simplifies everything, and it's true. And I call it visionary aging. So, what's your plan for aging? And if we kind of put that vision together in advance, then we know. And going back to that little, I don't know if you saw that little Venn diagram that I had on with Steve, but if you look at what you want, what you can afford, and what's going to keep you safe, that's exactly in that no-go stage. I think is perfect if you're planning that no-go well in advance and knowing what you want and what you can afford. I mean, Lloyd, you put plans together for people all the time to be able to
Yeah,
know how to make that happen.
right. And again, because of depending on how much support financially you'll need, likely your spending might go up in that phase of retirement. So you got to plan ahead for that. They say it kind of looks like a smile. It's like spending early is high and then it kind of phases out, it's slower, and then it goes up again. And
that's a really they're really great with their kind of imagery and so forth that their words that they use, really neat.
Mhm.
So again, tell me again. So the 3 pillars are
money, relationships, and health. And the main thing is not in every aspect of those pillars need an investment, an effort, a sacrificial effort now before retirement. You need to plan ahead to be successful in retirement. And so, yeah, and relationships often gets ignored. Money probably gets thought about the most, but healthcare too needs, like in your business, they need to plan ahead too to have a successful retirement. So all 3 are really, really important.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Like, how do people get a hold of you if they wanted to talk with you more?
There's our website, cliffordswan.com. And can I say just a few words of who we are? Okay. So
Yes.
we're a registered investment advisor. And as a registered investment advisor, we're in the business of growing and preserving wealth for our clients, who are individuals, families, institutions. And even though we're based in Pasadena, we manage over $4 billion in assets for clients located all over the United States. And we craft personalized wealth strategies and manage portfolios with the full financial picture in mind. And
Nice.
we do all of our own proprietary research in-house. We don't have any products to sell. And in a nutshell, Clifford Swan's been investing for our clients for wisdom for generations. In fact, since 1915.
Really? Oh my gosh.
Yeah, 1915. And the strong, deep client relationships we develop over time, along with the skill sets and the control of the full financial picture we bring to our clients, I think gives them peace of mind. And
I know.
That's
I
the
know.
main thing is peace of mind.
I've seen you in the community for a long time, and I just really appreciate that focus and that warmth that you offer. And I really appreciate you sharing the pillars, and it's very unique to what I've heard anybody else share in future planning. So it's fantastic. Really appreciate it. And you have a great weekend.
Yes, thank you so much for the opportunity, Mary, and you too. Enjoy the holidays.
Oh, thank you.
Happy birthday.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Have a great one.
All right, you too. Thanks.
Okay. Uh-huh. She's just so sweet. And I know that it's so nice to be able to have somebody who's so warm working with you to support you over your lifetime and through your retirement and get you to that visionary plan that you have for yourself. Well, we're going to add our special Melinda Hughes with us now, and we'll see what she has to say about the physical freedoms that we're allowed when we take care of ourselves, right? How are you?
Yeah. That was really cool. She had a lot of good things to say, Lloyd. One of the things that I was thinking of adding as I was listening to you guys talk is when we have a lot of different ages coming into the strength shop, and certainly a lot of people who are over the age of 80. And there's a lot of people who can stay in that go-go mode of retirement past 85. But when she was speaking and she was talking about the importance of relationships, one of the things that I've noticed about my clients who are still really active in their late 80s is not only are they doing something physical for their health, like they're in the strength shop every week, staying strong, but they're also they still have their partners, and they're still
the relationship piece. Yeah.
They still have friendships, and they still go and do things, and they're active within their community, and they're interacting with people, and they have that support system, and they're in the communities that they've been in for a long time. So I thought that was really interesting. And from the Shape Up Your Longevity, we talk about that all the time, that how important relationships are. So that was really cool that she said that, and she's a financial planner, and
I know. And I think it means that we're whole people, and that it's not just about the finances if you're not connecting it with your relationships and with your health and everything else. So I think that's a really wise way of looking at what we do. I'm going to add Steve on and see what he might have to add in our topic.
Yeah, our
today.
clients in their
Hello,
late
Melinda.
Hi, Steve. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Getting ready for my next workout on Monday.
Yes, that's what I like to hear. I'm here. You can see me. I'm ready to go on the machines this morning with some clients. But a lot of our clients who are in their late 80s, they actually come to work out together, who still have their spouses. And that's like always a really cool thing. So they come come together and they work out one after the other, or at the same time sometimes if we have more than one trainer available.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, any great plans for the weekend, anyone?
Getting ready for the holidays.
Get through the holidays.
Getting ready for the holidays.
Oh yeah, well yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I went to Musso and Frank's. It was on my bucket list, and I went to Musso and Frank's the other night. That was a lot of fun. So.
For your birthday?
Yeah, it was for my birthday.
Oh.
Yay!
Yeah.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. Yeah. So, well, I hope that everybody watching and my friends here, that you have a fantastic weekend. And if you need any information and you want to get something, you want to connect with Lloyd, or you want to get any more information on visionary aging and shape up your longevity, and definitely reach out to Melinda Hughes at the Strength Shop. And we're planning something for January, so we'll be announcing that shortly, when we're going to do something at her studio. So that's going to be a lot of fun. I know, it is a lot of fun. So thank you all for joining, and I'm going to go ahead and find our little lady who does our little extra.
Have a good weekend.
All right, have a good one. Have a good one.
Bye, guys.
Bye.